PDR Tool Time. Tools, reviews, and stories. From techs that you can trust.
Welcome everybody to another episode of PDR Tool Time. This is episode 167. I'm your host Vince D'Alessandro, along with Daniel Grom and Hudson Tanzi. We have a special guest that we're going to get to shortly here, but before we do, we want to do some test corrections on our last podcast. We didn't have all the information on some of the tools that we were talking about. They're still in prototype mode and stuff like that, so our numbers were a little bit off. Daniel. That was all Daniel's fault.
Yes, it was.
So I'll let you correct yourself.
Well, when we get a lot of stuff early on, and it's speculation. So some of this stuff's going to happen this way because we're excited about bringing it to you guys firsthand. You can rely on us to bring you the latest and greatest information first before anybody else, and that's what we try to do. And sometimes we jump at the gun a little bit and get overexcited about, over enthusiastic about talking about prices. So
so how were you wrong?
I made a mistake on our the Viper skin handles. They're going to be how much, Vince?
They are going to be $49. I almost screwed up myself. So $49 for the overlays. They're going to come in two sizes, which is the only two sizes the A1 carries, the larger size and the smaller size. And they will be coming in three colors. They'll be coming in.
Yeah, I messed up on that. I thought two colors. There's going to be three colors.
Yeah, they'll be green, orange, and then black in both sizes. Black large and black small.
Oh, that's orange? I thought they were yellow or gold.
And you must be colorblind.
They're kind of a gold orange.
Like a burnt orange, right?
Yeah, it's an anodized color, so it's,
Yeah.
Something different.
It's like Apple saying rose gold, It's rose orange.
Right. And then secondly is the Gorilla Grip by John Hiley. Those are going to be available at Anson as well. So that was the other flub.
I'm glad we could get a handle on this situation.
Yes. The year of the handles, as quoted by Mr. Craig Dyer himself from Anson PDR. There's another handle coming out as well from Dwayne Emerson. Dwayne Emerson has a handle coming from Europe. And there's all sorts of new handles. A1 is actually working on a handle for their stuff as well. So there's lots of handles this year, which is great because, it's the first thing we touch on the tool and we want to be comfortable and ergonomically correct. And our guest here that's going to be coming on shortly, we're going to ask him about handles because I have a theory as to why handles are the way they are and how they are for many years, and he'll probably elaborate on that.
Let's make sure we get to our sponsors.
Exactly. So our sponsors, go ahead, Hudson.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, our sponsors are Hog Taps. Yeah, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to throw you under the bus there.
Okay, I'll take it. Hog Tabs, Hog Glue. All right. If you want a mat that doesn't really do the greatest thing ever, you could maybe go buy the Magnatech mat. I'm joking. Get the Magnatech mat. It's amazing. And that's another sponsor. And then Dave Stream with the Edgy Tools is another fantastic sponsor we have. And then also for all your aches and pains, which I could definitely use after the Hell Car I just got done working on today.
Did you say Hell Car or Hail Car?
Same thing.
I'm in Texas, so we say things a little differently out here.
That's right.
All right. So the Hail Car?
Yes.
I don't know. CBD Direct.
Yes.
CBD Direct.
CBD Direct. Go to pdrtooltime.com because there's coupon codes for Edgy Tools and for CBD Direct. So aches and pains. I've had a headache all afternoon, and I took the CBD rather than Advil, and it's natural, and it works.
I need to reorder, man. I'm already getting low on mine.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then our last sponsor,
Chirps.
Mobile Tech RX.
Yes. Mobile Tech RX, the best mobile tech app out there for all your PDR needs. Definitely.
Perfect.
2.5 years.
So now that we have that out of the way.
Yes. Hudson,
why don't you introduce our guest?
Yes.
Our guest today is a good friend of mine who I've gotten to know here the past couple of years, and I'm so glad I have, is Mr. Richard Bowles. Now, is that how you pronounce your last name? Bowles?
Yeah, it's bowls. Sometimes I get bowls, and sometimes I get bowels. But
Bowels.
it's bowls. Just
Richard Bowles, and
yeah,
he is with the one and only Dent Craft in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Thanks
And
for having me on,
finally,
guys.
thank you. We finally got you on the show. It's been like a couple years of bugging you. And
Yeah.
we finally got you on. So
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Richard. I mean, if you don't, if you're a dent technician and you don't own Dent Craft tools, there's something wrong.
with you.
Something
Yeah.
wrong.
Now,
Something
Dent-
very
At least a
wrong.
few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. A few
Yeah,
dozen.
It's been so hard to get Richard on because the thing about people at Dent Craft, they're just so I would say humble, but also they're just shy, just to themselves. And I'm like, Richard, we talk on the phone. This is all we're doing. It's like talking on the phone. Come on, let's do this. Let's talk some tools together. And finally, he was like, "All right, Hudson, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you are. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, that's one of the things,
Yeah.
and I'll just come out there and admit it. We are either shy or humble or both, and I really struggle with coming on to podcast or doing videos or doing audio, and it's really hard. I think one of the greatest things A1 has going for it is Maria, to be able to put a graceful woman out there who's also pretty doesn't hurt, and then she has the heart and the spirit that's just perfect for what they do. We don't have a natural built-in front person like that,
Like
a
a
Hollywood
a personality.
Yeah, you need to hire a media
No,
person for your.
you don't.
What?
You know what?
Why not?
That's
I'm
not
a
yet.
front-
I want more
man
pretty
for hire.
girls talking about tools, Vince. I'm sorry.
Okay,
but
well, that-
I'm
Of
going to
course, you
argue.
perv.
Yeah. Daniel.
You know,
the
there's
perv.
a funny story about that. One year, there was this dent warranty company who had monkeys with bobbly heads.
Yes.
And
Ding monkey.
we were at yeah, that's right. I didn't want to say the name
Oh,
or not,
sorry,
but
sorry.
no, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's your show. I'll let you announce brands
yeah.
and stuff. But we were at the Mobile Tech, and they had a Wii set up, and they had these ladies with barely a legal amount of clothes on
Yes.
doing the Wii Fit dance. And I went back to Holly and Jennifer, and I didn't mean it this way, but they still make fun of me today. I said, "You guys might as well have a seat. We're not going to sell any tools until those ladies are done dancing." And even to this day, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
who brought the, And then David Strain's been known to hire some
Drew's
models.
Tools.
Drew's tools.
And Drew's tools.
He hasn't done any of that for a while though.
But who
Used
was
to
it this year? It was
ladies in the bikinis.
this year it was Dwayne Emerson with Power PDR box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but they-
those are his. That's his wife and
they were-
like relatives.
They were respectable.
Was it?
They're
Oh, okay.
respectable.
Yeah, yeah,
They were wearing half naked.
I didn't know who they were.
Yeah, but and that you brought up a good point, Richard, because you've been coming to MT for years. I've seen you. I've hung out with you. I've had shared a beer with you, not a single beer, but a couple beers with you. And you guys have been coming to Mobile Tech Expo for years now, and I think you guys should be in the forefront and talking about your tools. But I've always kind of had the impression that you guys just put your heads down and you're workers and you're
Well,
producing.
it's a very fine line. I want people to love us, but I don't want people to love us because we paid them to love us or because we gave free things away. And so anytime you have a paid spokesman, you have a conflict of interest. I mean, you're literally paying somebody, like every famous actor on every commercial was paid to say they love some company. I think David Chappelle says, "I love Pepsi until Coke pays me, then I love Coke." And his
Exactly.
line was like, "Well, who do I love? I don't remember which one paid me last."
Right.
And so it's a fine line, and I want to help people, and it's just really tough for me because we have it used to be an unspoken rule, and now it's just said out loud. Like, we will never come out and say our tools are the best, and if you don't have our tools, you're a loser. And it feels like some of the competition will. For a while, we had some very outspoken competition. He's no longer in the game, but he would physically trash other people's products And I found that to be highly offensive.
After
Not
he
even
copied it.
Well, yeah, I'm not, yeah, I just find it, I think there's lines that you step and there's lines that you cross. And as a company, we're very careful. When a tech comes in, like a brand new tech, and they want to buy tools, the first thing I ask them is, where's your trainer at?
Yeah.
And if they don't have a solid answer for that, I'll tell them, I don't want to sell you more than the very minimum amount of tools that you can practice with. And then I tell them, go out and build you a hood stand out of wood. Don't buy this $850 or $1,200 or whatever hood stand. Go build one out of wood until you develop skills that are worthy of a real hood stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm known for here, when a customer comes in the door, I've been known to be the anti-sale.
Right.
I've been known to tell them, I've denied selling people stuff. We have a lawyer who's come in and a dentist who's come in, and they say, hey, I want to buy tools to fix my own car. And I always find out what they do. For a living.
I thought they just wanted to make more money.
Yeah, and I said, you're a lawyer, right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, should I represent myself in court? And of course, the answer is no.
Right.
And so I tell them, you shouldn't fix your own dent.
Oh,
and then I like to go out there and look at their car and say it in the nicest way I know how, which is, your car is too nice for you to be working on it.
Yeah.
You need a professional,
Right.
because they're coming, this Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series. And it's just like, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are you so uptight and so cheap? And I even tell them, some guys just like demand that I sell them something. And I said, the only thing you could possibly use, and you're going to use it wrong, and you're going to pull your paint off, but you can buy this mini lifter, you can buy this hot glue, and then I tell them, after you've messed up your car, bring this stuff back, and I'll give you your money back. Because I don't want anybody.
That's good.
I don't want anybody to have our stuff, and for it to be sitting there collecting dust, and every time they look at it, they have a resentful feeling about making that purchase.
Yeah,
I want
absolutely.
People need training. You can get the head knowledge off of YouTube for free nowadays, but people need practical hands-on training to learn. They need a tech to tell them, you push in the wrong spot, you push too hard, you push too soft.
Yeah.
And because I think having a bad technician out there hurts PDR in general.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
It's all about.
So I'll sum up what you just said. Basically, is because you're not going to say it. Is Dent Craft is a company with morals.
Yeah.
Boom.
I think most of us are.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I'm not saying others. I'm not saying other companies don't. That's not what I'm saying. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me. There's other companies. I think the majority of our, almost all of these dent tools,
The ones that are around now
have good morals.
Well, here's a funny story
exactly.
about that.
So-
To go along with that, Richard, I was in front of Dave Streen, I think it was about a year ago, and he just got back. Someone had returned glue tabs that they ordered glue tabs from Edgy Tools, and he wanted a refund. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. He got them back, and all of them, they were in the package, original package, and sealed again, and they actually they had glue on them, and they had glue with chunks of paint stuck to them.
That's funny. That's funny and sad,
Yeah.
And we have some things happen. We have, the biggest compliment I receive is I answer the phone and the guy says, "Hey, I broke a whale tail or something," and I tell him, "Don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it." And he goes, "What do you mean we're going to take care of it?" I'm like, "Well, we're going to send you another one. That's what we do." And he goes, "You're not sending me another one for free." And we have customers who demand to buy their new well tail. They won't let us warranty it because it's made them so much money.
Yeah.
They feel bad about getting another free one.
Oh, of course. I'm right there.
20 years old,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we found some of those. So a guy contacted me and says, "Hey, I bought a set back in like 96. And back then there was a different process, but also you never know the history of something until it's too late and you wish you would have kept one." So I've actually bought back some of our very old well tails.
That's so cool.
I said, every well tail you have that you're willing to give up, just take a picture, send it to me, and I'll send you all brand new ones.
Well,
the same size.
Save one or two for Daniel's PDR Tool Museum, because he's
I'm
starting a
creating
museum. Yes.
That's cool. I was working on that. A guy on Facebook showed off some really old tools, and I told him, I said, I would love to have those. And I said, if you could let us take custodianship, and then if you ever wanted them back, we would ship them back. But I wanted to create a physical museum and a digital museum, like 3D scan them.
Okay, you're way ahead of Daniel. You should
digital museum. That's good.
You know what the problem was? The minute I told this guy what I wanted to do with his tools that he was ready to give me, he apparently he thought he had the Mona Lisa.
Oh, right.
And he just completely flipped the script, and it got weird.com. So I was just off of that.
So let's get to it just really quick. I want to know, since I don't know, have you been on any other podcasts, Richard?
I did PDR College about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Our friends over there. Yeah,
and that was the only one I've done.
So here, for anyone listening that, for some reason, if you're under a rock and you don't have a Dent Craft tool, Richard, what's your role there at Dent Craft?
So nowadays, I do a little bit of everything, but I can do anything from plugging in keyboards and mice to installing new hard drives to managing the in-house server. I also manage the website and the co-located server that's on. I do all the marketing. Not all the marketing. I do all the digital marketing. I do all the photos. And I've recently started working on product videos. I want to do flybys of each tool, from the toe to the handle, then flip it around and do it again, and give people about a minute video for every single tool that we sell. It's just another way to kind of let them. It's just more than a picture. And
absolutely.
What I found out is video is extremely hard, and it makes me extremely self-conscious.
Yeah.
Now, did you start with Dent Craft back
in the day?
No.
How long have you been there?
So I met. I was at Dent Craft for about a year and a half, right out of high school, so 2004 to 2005-06. And then, and I was here in the capacity of making the tools in the back.
Okay.
And so I was walking around benders and making all the tools, and it was kind of I was a very young person and a very misguided person. And I met the owner of Dent Craft, and I met him through another friend who worked in the back making tools. But at that point, when I first met him, I was too young to work in the factory. And so I helped him. Or he let me help him. I was very little help, but I helped him build the add-on to his house. And so I showed up the first day, and he gave me a caulk gun, and my job was to caulk all the seams in between all the decking on the walls, and just to sweep and just do what I'm told. Learn how to serve people, learn how to be a servant, stuff like that, And within the first 3 nights, and he had known me for, 3 nights of work, maybe 12 hours, 4 hours after high school, whatever, each night. On the third night, he goes, "Hey, it's dinner time." And he went inside, and I stayed outside to keep working. I was going to find something to do to keep working. And he came back, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, I'm going to keep working." He goes, "No, you're not. You're going to come inside and eat dinner with my family." And I went inside.
Was this Sid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went inside, and I sat down at the dinner table, and probably for the first time in many, many years, we had a proper family dinner. I was, sitting next to his 2 lovely daughters, sitting at the same table with Sonia, and then Sid was there, and they had salad before the meal. It was a 3-4 course meal. Absolutely blew my mind that this guy would invite me into his house. I was dirty and stinky. I had long hair at the time. Now I have no hair, but it was just an amazing blessing. And that's what Sid did. So Sid got to know you. And if you would let him, he got to know you more and more and more until he found what you specifically needed in your life, whether it was guidance, whether it was tough love or nice love, or, he had a thing. He would say that, he would call himself brutally honest. He was so honest with you that you couldn't be mad, even though it was brutally honest, because it was so honest. He saw right through any charade and could read people and got to know them on such a real level. He also built the bridge to where he could say things into your life that no one else could tell you.
We call that relational equity.
Yeah, and he was the master of it.
I can testify to that because I met Sid at a NACE convention, and
At what convention?
NACE.
NACE was an auto body convention. This is before MTE was invented,
And it's still around. It's
NACE is still around. But we all gravitated to NACE because there's nothing else. And I remember him showing up, and Ding King showed up for the first time, and Ding King had a big, huge booth. They came out huge, and then Dent Craft came out, and I remember meeting Sid. He was very gracious, great guy. Instantly had a connection with Sid, and I was so keen on seeing what he was doing with the manufacturing of his tools, because he had some very unique designs, and then the big thing was he was laser etching back then. This is, I want to say it was around 1995, somewhere around I could be wrong a couple of years, but and he had those. Even back then, he had those little tiny keychain tools that he had. And I was amazed that he was doing that kind of stuff. And you didn't see other companies start doing that kind of thing for probably at least 8-9 years later, So he was way ahead of his time.
Yeah. And even
we
myself.
used to send those, we used to send those keychain tools out with the catalogs. And guys would say, if you're full size, because they're little miniature brace tools, if your full size tools are as good as these, I'll order them. The problem was they were so strong, and we put them inside the catalog, they would tear up all the envelopes before they got there. The USPS was like, hey, you got to quit sending these little tools in paper envelopes.
Yeah.
What guys didn't realize that you could use that tool.
Oh, yeah.
And I use that tool often.
I use it often too.
You know what I did?
I put in some vice grips to get a little bit more leverage on the handle, but it was freaking strong.
And it's funny because what did you do?
I actually have 50 of them in my top drawer of my van. And anytime since I do mobile retail and I'm in people's driveways, and a kid with one of their kids start watching me do the dent removal, I'll ask permission at the end of the dent, if I can give the kid one of those tools.
Oh, very cool.
So I bought like 50 of them from Richard. I go, Richard, can I get like 50 of those? He's like, yeah. And so I bought them from him, and now every time it's kind of like if you go to the barber, you get a sucker, right? If you have a dent guy come to your house, you're getting a miniature dent tool.
That's funny. Yes. I remember back at MTE, you guys used to give those away too, and I think a lot of people were like starting to grab quite a few of them because I use them all the time. Even on a hood, you get the small little drain holes in the front of the hood. That's perfect tool to slip right in there and get in there. And I think you might charge for them now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I told you, if it was up to me, I'd give everything away.
Sure.
I would absolutely ruin the business.
But you are a business. You are a business. You have to make money.
and so we used to give them away, and then people start taking handfuls or 5 or 6, and then we'd find some laying around on the floor. And we figured, and we only charge $1 for them. Yeah. And we're not making money on that. But so what it does is it gives people, if they paid $1 for something, at least they're going to give it $1's worth of respect.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it's kind of a barrier to entry. Yeah. Like even if you want to do a free event, it might be better to charge $5 a ticket to keep the quote unquote riffraff out of the event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, and we don't want to focus on that tool because Dent Craft has tons of tools and, with the history of it. So you know some of the history, and we want to go back a little bit here. Dent Craft started in, was it 95, was it? 96?
It was, so 95 was the genesis. The owner, the founder, Sid Emmert, he was building homes, and a guy he was building a home for pulled the car out of the driveway and started tweaking on it with these fancy pry bars. And Sid thought, I've been building homes for a while, but this guy gets to these cars and he can afford the homes I'm building. So I think I'd rather do that. And so he went down there and met the guy. He already knew him, but told him, hey, you got to teach me what you're doing. And at this time, if you were being trained, you went out to a junkyard and got leaf springs and different various types of car parts and shaved them down, and you made your own tools.
Yep.
And so Sid made his own tools, brought them back and showed his future trainer. And the guy said, well, those are pretty darn good tools. Before we start training, go make, 5 or 6 more sets.
Yeah.
And pretty much made him make more sets. And then, Sid was a home builder, and he said, how do I pay you for this training? And the guy said, well, just, build my home for free.
Wow.
I'll pay the cost, but your fee,
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of about $20,000 to be trained. And it was worth every single penny.
Yep.
And so Sid started making tools professionally, and we went on the books officially in 97. And so we count 97 as like the official Genesis, and that's where we count our anniversaries from. And so back then, we only made at first we only made the company set, and we only sold it as a complete set. And he would drive around, and he would drop off these sets at people while they were at techs while they were fixing their cars. And he would tell them, I'm going to come back in the next day or so, and I'm going to get these back from you. But I'm going to drop them here. I want you to use them all you can, and let me know what you think about them.
Yep.
And so whenever he went back, about half the guys would pay the 1995, the same price in 97 as it is in 2019. Half the guys would pay that price and take the whole set and say, you can't have them back. They're mine now.
Yep.
And the other half would give them back, and he'd drop them off at the next place.
Right. Total grassroots effort.
Absolutely. From the ground up, and it was purely tenacity by Sid.
Yeah.
There's an old story about him drilling a hole in the stairwell in the garage to put metal through to bend it. and those kind of things, they don't please the wife when you're putting holes in the stairwell.
Hold on, quick question. So Sid got trained by the guy that he built the house for, but then he went direct. He basically was like, well, I think I can do better at making the tools.
No. There's a huge, in every person, every tech, and there's more of them every day, who are starting to make their own tools, will hit this inflection point where you have to decide which master you're going to serve.
Sure.
Are you going to make tools and serve the manufacturing master, or are you going to fix dents and serve the PDR master? What you can't do successfully is both.
Yeah.
At a certain scale. You'll never be as efficient at both as you will be if you only focused on one. So he fixed dents, retail, wholesale, at an auto auction down in Dallas for years. I think he fixed dents for at least 4 or 5 years. But finally, one day he had to say, hey, I'm going all in. And they started at what I would consider now a very crummy location on the wrong side of town. And then in 2001, we built the building we're in now. And in 2008, we doubled the factory size.
Oh, wow.
And we're not the loudest. We don't fly our banner. It's not the brightest banner. We don't yell in anybody's faces. Like I said, I'm the anti-sell. I don't want to sell anybody tools that they don't have a want in their heart. Now, if I can tell them something and they say, oh, I can see that now, and now I want it, that's a little bit different. But what I don't want to do is, hey, next week is buy one, get one free. And then 2 months from now, it's free shipping. And then it's, I want every tech to know that they paid about very close, within pennies, the same price if they bought the same tools as their other tech.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have discounts built into sets. We have a mix and match Welltail discount. It's the most fair way we could do it. One of the guys, Sid sold one of his first sets to, told him, if I found out that you sold this set cheaper later on, I'm going to whoop your ass.
Yeah.
and we still use that excuse today to say, hey, because also techs gossip.
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Daniel.
What's up, Daniel?
Now, for people that don't know, Sid did pass away in a plane accident, right? And what year was that?
That was July of 2007. or 2011. I'm sorry.
Wow,
And
it's been that long
Sid
now. Huh?
was time flies. Sid was a airplane enthusiast. He had a twin engine airplane that he would shuffle the family around in. He would tell you straight up, because he was brutally honest with himself. He'd tell you, I cannot financially justify owning any of these airplanes. He ended up owning 3 airplanes. He said, it can't, if God doesn't want me to have them, he's going to take them away.
Yeah.
There's no way you can have a private aviation and save money versus commercial. But he had a twin prop airplane and for cruising the family around. And then he had a super decathlon, which is a Cessna, but it has extra bracing and a bigger engine, and it's qualified to do aerobatics. And he's taken me up in that, and there's just no experience in the world than flying, in the same airplane as the owner of the company and doing loops.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it has a glass ceiling, so while you're upside down, you can look, up, but you're looking down at like trees, and it's like, oh, I am upside down.
Did you hurl? Did you hurl?
No. The only rule about flying with Sid is you told him the minute you started feeling nauseous,
right.
And then he was the best pilot in the world. You would go from doing
he was John Travolta, huh?
And yeah, you'd go from doing turns and loops and what they call hammerheads, where you shoot straight up and then turn over and experience some zero or microgravity. And then the minute you say, hey, I'm not feeling so, before you even finish the sentence, level flight, comfortable flight, let's get you on the ground so I don't have to clean my airplane up.
Exactly.
Yeah. The worst thing as a pilot is you invite a very special guest, because you only take up special people because it's not cheap and it is an experience.
Yeah.
And you only take up the people you trust the most.
Yeah.
If I would have pulled the parachute cord, it would have cost him hundreds of dollars to get it repacked.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I would have hit the wrong button on it,
And so Sid passed away.
So
2011.
2011, he had just recently bought a Stearman biplane, which is a classic air show quality type biplane.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to take it on a tour around the USA, and he was going to do a circle through like all these states. And he gets to a second or third stop in Colorado, and he has a friend up there who owns a ranch. And he decides, I'm going to land in this field. We're going to have dinner. And then they were having dinner, and the guy was like, hey, after dinner, that's me and you go up, and I'll take some photos of my ranch. And then he was flying, and there was some sort of abnormality health-wise. They could never figure it out. But the guy who was with him was a doctor and a pilot.
Wow.
So he was in the best hands possible, but it still wasn't enough. And they clipped some trees, and they came down. The guy who was with him survived, and he tragically passed away. And Sonia, who you might have seen at the shows and have met, that is his widow. And she came in, absolutely carried the heaviest load a person can carry, taken on from the founder.
Yeah.
And she, we were fortunate enough, and by we, I mean just people who work at Dent Craft, but also some of us who have been here 10 plus years, we were fortunate enough that he had talked to her a lot about who did what, how they did it, and how he had us assembled as a team.
Yeah.
Was she involved at all at that point?
She was early on, and then she kind of backed out, and now she's back.
So she was in the bookkeeping part of the business for the first 5 plus years. And she was even, I think she kind of went to full-time stay at home. She did that probably in 2003, 2004.
Yeah, we can all relate with that, because we all have wives, and we're all independent guys, businesses, and if any of us passed away and our wives had to take over, that'd be a big shoes to fill. Yeah. So good for her, man.
Yeah, man, she's a strong woman,
because she's done good.
She's the biggest sweetheart ever. I love the fact that we see Sonia at the shows now and talking to her, and traveling around. She's a wonderful woman, just like Sid was. They're both salt of the earth type of people. You know what I mean?
One of the things I love about Dent Craft is you guys come to the show to sell tools. A lot of companies don't go there fully packed and ready to sell tools, man. When you go to a MTE, you can walk home with pretty much a full set of Dent Craft tools if you want.
Oh man, I'll tell you this, Daniel. Hey man, I ordered some Dent Craft tools from Mobile Tech, and before I even got home, they were on they're at my doorstep.
Yeah, that's great.
It was insane.
It's a two-part kind of problem where even before the show begins, we set up the whole booth, every tool, nut, and bolt. We set it all up in an extra garage bay that we have. And then we load it very meticulously and very specifically to get it all in line. But
And that's
not only
a lot
that,
of work.
It's a ton of work. Part of the secret sauce, and I'll give it away, and other tool companies can do it, that would be great for the industry, is that you leave a guy at home who's qualified and trusted to come with us, but we need him at home equally. And so we leave him at home.
That poor guy.
And he comes in and does some of the orders and pre-boxes things, and that gives us the capability to when we're at Mobile Tech for us to say, hey, most of the time this package is going to get home before you do.
Yeah.
And that's just another level.
Awesome. So now Sonia she owns and runs the company now?
That's right. Sonia is 100% full owner. No partners, no silent partners, no big corporate interest, none of that. We're
awesome.
We're just a small, tight-knit company. A lot of us, we have guys even in the back. And I only say even in the back because it's hard work out there. I could never do it as well as they do.
That's the heart and soul. They're making tools.
That's right. Sid came out there when I was working in high school, and he said, Richard, this job's not for you. I'm going to find you a computer job. He says, start bringing nice clothes. Start bringing nice clothes in your car. And one day I'm going to come back and get you during lunch, and we're going to go to lunch. I'm going to introduce you to the guy you're going to end up working for.
You look a little wimpy. Richard?
Well, it was the nicest way I've ever been fired in my whole life.
Right.
And so he came and got me, and I went to lunch, and me and the guy I ended up working for are still very good friends. And this guy had a photographic, insane business mind. He could tell you when you last ordered from him, what you bought from him, what you paid for it, what he'll buy it back for, and where his current truck is at that he could send to pick it up. All in his head, all the time.
Sure.
And so I've always said I wanted Sid's morality and brutal honesty and everything Sid brought to the table, and I wanted that guy's business mind.
Yeah.
And if you've ever put those two things together, the person could not only just rule the world, people would thank him for ruling the world.
Sure.
So Richard, here's what I want to get to. Here's what I feel. I feel like so a lot of my tools are Dent Craft, and I love them. They're my favorites, some of my favorite tools. But I feel like y'all have been kind of flying under the radar a little bit. Like, and I think you even mentioned that, like, you don't have like a front person like Maria, and a lot of people are kind of like, we got the game changer.
Yeah.
But you guys just kind of, I feel like you haven't come out with as much, or maybe you have, and we're not aware of it. What's going on?
So we're definitely stepping up our game. Just in the last 2 or 3 days, I've put on 15 new 3/8 diameter rods on the website, and included, eventually there's going to be 19 different 3/8 diameter tips. Then we acquired Dent Gear, and we're going to be producing anywhere from 20 all the way up to like 90 of Dent Gear's.
Okay, time out there. Time out there. You acquired. So how? I want to know. Like, I think that's kind of been like a good mystery there. Like, what? How did that happen? What's going on there?
Well, I'm going to say as much as I can.
Okay, yeah. I understand.
Stories, right?
Exactly.
So the best way to interview me about Dent Gear would first let me pre-clear everything with Sonia, and then have Sal Giuliano sitting right by my side.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I can tell you what I can tell you when I'm by myself, and without pre-clearing what I haven't.
Yeah.
So a third party notified me that Dent Gear may or may not be for sale or for acquisition. And I immediately called Sal Giuliano and said, hey, what in the heck? I know you so well, and I wasn't the first to know what's going on. And and that got the talk started. And then it took us a long, long time. We flew out to see him and to see the whole shebang. But how it turned out for us is that we had to acquire the branding, the logo, the tool designs, and his machinery. What we couldn't afford to do was acquire his customer base to make everything right. We can't afford to warranty stuff that we've never made.
Sure.
So it does get awkward. But what I told him from the very get-go is that my primary goal and my primary allegiance, of course, is for Dent Craft.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest goals, one of the biggest sub-goals that I have is to make sure that Dent Gear gets a proper rebirth and a proper redo. And I want to make
That's
sure
good. That's good to know.
that at the end of the day, the thing that the Giulianos created will end up surviving and be successful and will carry the name Dent Gear. I like to tell people if Nike bought Adidas, they wouldn't close down Adidas, they would sell both lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going
Nike
to end
did
up
that.
having a proper second line of tools that will be chrome plated. They will take the good from what he did and they will add to it. And it also gave us a lot of moral authority to make his designs.
Yeah.
And so one thing I'm really weary about as a part of a tool manufacturer is that I try to keep Dent Craft from doing any what I like to call close follows. If somebody, and I can give you the best example because I use this one internally. What we're never going to do is make a flat bar with a slot in it because that's Sal Contreras.
Sure.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is so inventive. I feel like he properly owns that for a long time, and I think he even has a patent on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
But even if you
He'll
don't,
defend it like a lion.
oh yeah, for sure. And that's my other point. You don't have to have a patent to count on Dent Craft not to step on your toes.
Yeah.
If you did something, back to the game changer, that is almost a meme. That's almost a joke nowadays.
Yeah.
Every tool company calls everything they make a game changer. And if you call everything you make a game changer, nothing's a game changer.
Of course.
I feel like the last couple game changers I saw are the best examples I can give. I really think the Edge Jack was a proper innovation. People might have mocked up something like that and everybody thought of it, of course, before he did, but he did it.
Mhm.
And it's a proper, neat, and I've never saw anything like it that adapted to a mini lifter. And so that's a proper game changer. I also felt like,
I mean, that's
I
true.
have
I
to
mean,
give-
before the Edge Jack, I could never fix those dents.
I was over there in the Netherlands with Freddie Jonkers, one of my greatest friends in the whole world. And I was watching him repair a dent on the edge of a door. And he put it between his two legs and braced it against his knees and used a punch and a hammer just to beat the crap out of it back in line. And then I thought, the Edge Jack fixes all of that. It puts the control of the mini lifter on the edge of a panel. And
Sure.
that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I think the other one, I give him credit. He didn't invent blending, but he definitely re-energized it. And anybody who says Shane Jacks wasn't kind of responsible for re-energizing blending, I think is in denial, or they make a blending hammer themselves or something. But
I have a blending hammer. My first ever blending hammer was a Shane Jacks blending hammer. And the reason why I now own about 12 blending hammers is because of Shane Jacks
Yeah.
and PBR
yeah,
College.
and I think the same way that Shane re-energized blending hammers, I feel like Keith re-energized glue tabs.
Sure.
To say, hey, don't make them curved, make them flat-faced, and don't put, and in fact, don't put any texture, make them amazingly flat.
Mm-hmm.
He re-energized that, and then, so those two things, I can't go without saying this one. My good friend, and I have a lot of them, at the end of the day, Dent Craft wants to be friends with every other tool manufacturer in the world. We have no problem with anybody, and we love all of them. But so my buddy Mike Thrower at B&D, I felt like he had a game changer before they were calling anything game changers, and that's the original door jammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That everyone has copied.
Stuck.
Everyone has copied
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, who copied it? Because I love calling them out.
Ultra.
I know one.
Ultra,
Oh,
Dent Technologies, a few
Yep.
other ones have copied that. Yeah.
Copied what?
Because
The door jammer. The original
Yeah,
door
B&D.
jammer was B&D.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, B&D had the original one. That
like
was
the original legit
Steck
one,
did.
best one. No, that was but the Steck one moved on you. The
Yeah,
B&D
yeah.
door
I
jammer
call it
never.
Door jammer.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
I
sure.
called it. Yeah, but we're talking about a proper door
Yeah,
jammer.
yeah. So
The
okay.
other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another. Okay, so we could go down the list of all the game changers, but
Well,
I
that's
get- I
about
get
the
what-
three I think are real. But
Yeah. But
So,
hold on,
what-
before you get into
Yeah.
that, I just wanted to say congratulations on Dent Gear because they have a huge following. You know, they're only 40 miles away from my place here, and I used to go see Sal all the time, and I love Sal to death. He's a great guy. His dad was a fantastic businessman. I think
his dad's incredible.
his dad was great. Is great. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I always struggle with when I went in there. It was just chaos all the time. And
Yeah.
there was orders. You see it online. And tech guys are complainers, but it's just our nature, I guess. But they had struggles. They had struggles fulfilling orders and getting things to the customer.
He had the
and
right tools.
he had the
He
right
had the
tools.
right design.
Yes,
He knew how to make. He knew how to do every single part of the business.
absolutely.
His shortcoming was customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the opportunity for us to make a play at it, I thought, well, the one thing he's lacking is customer service. And our strongest card in the deck, our ace of spades, is our customer service. If you call Dent Craft, you will get somebody on the phone who has the authority to fix any problem you have. There's no transfers.
Yeah.
There's no waiting.
Yeah.
There's no arguing.
Yeah,
You don't even have to make your case.
Yeah.
All you
Right.
have to say is, hey, I'm within 60 days and I want to trade your tools back for my money back.
Yeah.
And that's never a problem for us because we still have tools on back order. It's a blessing.
So
Absolutely.
We make 700 tools, and
Wait, you make 700 tools?
well, there's a lot more than that on the website. We probably make at least 400 different tools, and we can only make so many at a time. And it's a huge math problem to figure out which tools to make, how many to make, and how many. Because if you make 80 at a time, it's not going to be as efficient as making 32 at a time. And so it's a huge math and game theory problem. And it feels like techs know when we're out of something because we'll have plenty in stock and then we'll go out of something. And then it feels like the word got out. And we'll just go back ordered pages and pages. And it's like, how did they know? You know? And then we ship all the back orders for free. And so the owner kind of she doesn't like it when we're back ordered.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Go ahead.
So let me
Daniel.
ask you this.
Yeah, Daniel, what's your question? Yeah.
So, at Anson, mini MTE Anson's, I got some new tabs that you put out, and and then also the 3/8 tools. I want to talk about both those. So those are something new. So the tabs are interesting. Today I got to use your tabs, and so these tabs are metal core, and then like a I'd say they're a nylon type of plastic on the tab part. So it's a 2-part metal core with the nylon face flat, and they pulled really good today for me. I was really happy.
Are these in production now, or no?
We're still testing.
Okay.
One of the reasons that we release, you could say, fewer tools than other companies, or slower, and we're getting a lot faster and better. But we step a little bit slowly, but we try to ensure that we're stepping in the right direction. And so
was I not supposed to talk about this?
No, you can't.
Okay.
I told Hudson before the thing, because I have a really good relationship with Hudson. We've talked on the phone a lot, and I told him. He gave me a little list of 8. Let's talk about the history of DC, and I replied back with, I trust you. We can talk about anything. The worst case scenario is I say, hey, I can't answer that. But so glue tabs, I give. Everybody is standing on the shoulders of Worth. I think Worth was some of the earliest tabs and some of the most prolific tabs. And everybody who's ever made tabs after Worth is standing on the shoulders of Worth. And when I knew that I wanted to start making tabs, the first reason is that I know what a mold costs, and I know they're very expensive, but I also know at some point you pay them off. And after you pay off a mold, in my personal opinion, the price of your tabs could technically come down a little bit, and you could still make the same money.
Now you don't have to do that with looking at the construction of your tab.
I still had to get a mold because
you still do?
we make the slugs in house. If something is made of metal, Dent Craft can make it, and we have the machines, and it's just an amazing. We have a lot of.
It's a whole different process, right? Is it similar?
Well, it's the same process of anything else that's overmolded.
Okay.
So think of the blend handles.
It looks simpler to me.
Yeah. So
Maybe.
We made a metal slug, and the metal slug looks like a metal tab. And you've seen the aluminum metal tabs and things like that. So people have made metal tabs before,
and they're terrible.
But because they don't stick. That's the secret.
Yeah.
Is that the business end of a tab, the part that sticks to the panel, either has to be made exactly like a car panel because glue sticks to car panels, or it has to be plastic, is what we know so far. But what doesn't work is any sort of aluminum or steel. And so we made a steel core, and then we stick it in a mold, and then the machine comes in and squirts plastic in a form of a tab shape all the way around the steel core. I want this tab, and there's a break-in period. When you get these tabs, it takes 6 or 7 pulls. It warms them up, or it takes some cleanser off them. I don't know what it does.
I soaked them for a couple days.
So soak them up, rough them in. Eventually, they're going to start pulling as well as your plastic tabs. And my goal is for them to be like a Bic lighter. You're going to have this tab, and you're going to lose it before you use all of it, before you break it. And I think it's the first tab ever made that is specifically designed not to break. I'm not saying other people design their tabs to break. I'm just saying that I'm going to charge the same price as a Kiko ice tab.
Right. Yeah.
$2.95.
Yeah.
I want you to give my tab to your children.
Yeah. Pass it down.
That's right.
In your will.
Because everybody's bought a Bic lighter and lost it, and then you find it in the dryer after it's been washed and dried, and it still works.
Yeah.
And then you lose them before you ever use all the fuel.
Now your tab's going to have a certain characteristic, in my opinion, that it's going to be what I call a flat puller, because it's got no flex in it, and
it's hard to have flex with a steel core.
That one of the reasons I like gangrene tabs. If you take their quarter size tab, I use that on a smaller dent that's deep, because you'll see that center flex up, and it's like sucking the center of that dent up. And that tab is very, very flexible. You'll stretch those tabs before you'll break them.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I want to go back and make sure to say that I don't think anybody designs their tabs to break. And I think my tab, number one, with a steel core, it's definitely not been done before. Overmolded, and that, or we would have heard of it.
Yeah.
And then second, I think the old boss used to say, I think there's an ass for every seat. I think there is room not only for my M-Core tab, but for other tabs.
Sure.
And also, I know it can go the other way. And I know that if and I've contacted, I talked to Keith Cosentino before I made it.
Yeah.
And not to get his blessing, but to say, we're personal friends, and I want to tell you what I'm doing and why.
Yeah.
And we just, kind of had to come to terms about it. And I told him, I said, I hope this doesn't affect our friendship.
So Richard,
and then I talked to some other companies too.
Yeah, and I hear you there. With that being said, excuse me, we have the you have your steel core tabs, and you have the 3/8 inch with 9 interchangeable tips, 3/8 inch rods with 9 interchangeable tips. What else do we have?
Before you go into that, I wanted to point on something I discovered today because the girls gave me some of the 3/8 tips, but I didn't realize it until today. I tried to screw them on. I have some Ultra 3/8 rods, and I went to screw them on that, and it's a different thread.
You know, I'm learning. The only company that I technically coordinated with, and I think I still got that wrong, was with Maria in A1. They are so approachable that I can come to them and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, and I want my tips to work on your stuff, and I want your tips to work on my stuff. And they told me that their tip was a quarter 20. And so that's what we made.
Okay. See, I didn't know that when I picked them up. Because
so technically the only one that the only one they're supposed to be compatible with is A1, not on purpose, but that's just how we went. And we're also going to, I can't say we're going to, but I'm going to try to we're going to make an adapter that you can stick on our rod. It's still 3/8 diameter, but it's 5/16 thread like everybody else's. And then the top end adapts to our tips, or it goes reverse. We're going to make a universal adapter. Okay, our 3/8 tips are so small. They have such a very short throw that you could add an adapter on there to our rods or to our tips, and they would still be just fine.
Okay, so if you can send me that so I can use them, that would be great.
So Richard, they gave you the tips, but not a rod?
Right. I just grabbed the tips because I wasn't thinking I needed the rod. I was like, I'm because I was doing carry on. I didn't want to take a bunch of tools with me.
Yeah. So Richard, is it true that you've got like kind of this black book?
Oh,
You've got like a giant book of basically.
We don't need to get into his personal dating life.
That's right. No, that one would be a very small book. One page.
Oh, no.
No, it's good in a good way, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the cool things about acquiring Dent Gear is that they actually had some very amazingly documented tools and processes, and so we also have a tool Bible. And so the problem is, techs say, "Hey, Richard, I have this tool idea." And the first thing I tell them is, if it's a free idea, please tell me. But if you want to get royalties for the rest of your life, please don't tell me. Because what we can't do is pay somebody royalties forever for something that we may have written down in the 400 pages of tool ideas we have. So,
yeah. Okay. So you have this book. That's awesome. Before we get going, I think we're running out of time here pretty quickly.
Sorry,
but no.
You'd be surprised. We've been talking for an hour.
Yeah,
it goes by quick.
No, I love hearing the story of Sid and his heart, and it's good because we talk a lot about tools, but it's good to hear about men that care deeply about other people, and just hearing that was very encouraging. But
absolutely,
I also want to know. And you guys carrying that kind of legacy on through your tool company, but also what can we expect from Dent Craft in the future? What are we seeing there? Yeah, what's going on in the future for you guys?
We're not the biggest believer in patents, but we have one relating to an indexable handle. But we need the stepping stone to get there. So we're going to come out
a what handle?
Indexable.
What does that mean?
It's just ratcheting, but it's not ratcheting. Right. So it indexes on a, you can look up the patent under Dent Craft tools, but it's unique, but it's so complex.
Yep.
And so we're working on a middle ground where we're going to release some of our tools with a ratcheting handle that you've all come to know and love. We're going to modify it to be a lot better. We're going to try to make it more cost effective than anybody else has so far, and we're going to try to just make them better.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and that's going to be a middle ground before we get to what should be the end all be all.
And before
yeah,
we
never
end,
say
before we
Yeah.
get into the end here, we've come full circle because I mentioned that earlier. You know, the year of the handles and stuff like that. There's, you know, in my theory and what I've been told, because I've talked to Steve from Ultra about it, about the handles. You know, why is your handle so uncomfortable? Blah blah blah. And there's so many different size hands out there that you have to have kind of an overall size handle that's going to fit many different size hands or dexterity and things like that. So, you know, sometimes we push with our left, sometimes we push it with our right. You have large hands, medium size, and small. So, you know, now that, Hudson has really small hands. If you ever meet him in person, it's like shaking a baby. It's kind of creepy.
I am in the small hand brigade.
Yes, and I'm the exact
we all know what they
opposite.
say about that.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I got huge hands.
Yeah. They just fit the best into my wife's hands. That way they're very comfortable when I hold
They say
them.
small hands, small gloves.
Yes.
Yeah, small gloves.
Small gloves. So, and that's my theory, and you could probably confirm that too, Richard. There's so many different people out there with different size hands, and you have to make something universal. But I think what we see now is that there's so many tools out there, and people are starting to consider, you know, the comfortability of their tools and longevity in this career. You know, years ago, if you found a guy that was 5 years into PDR, he's an old timer. Now we have guys in their 20s and some. I've met guys traveling around with the IMI that have been in this industry for 30 years fixing dents. You know, I'm 25. Daniel's like 28. You know, there's a longevity, and we're hurting because of it. And, you know, carpal tunnel, this and that. So if we can make ergonomically correct handles, it's going to save the future techs.
You know what? It does make a difference. Yet today I was working on a dent, and I had two different tools with the exact same tool with different handles. And I ended up switching to the other tool.
It's
and
more
it made
comfortable.
something different. Well, my hand wasn't cramping up as much. Yeah. So it does make a difference.
It does. It does.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually on a held card today, and working on it. And same story is I had two the very exact same things, and one handle was ratcheting, and I went with the ratcheting handle because I could adjust my level of torque. And speaking of that held car, I want to give a shout out to Josh Collins. You know who you are. Thank you very much, sir.
I would like to say, if I can, you know,
wrap it up, Richard. Here we go.
We're working on getting ourselves out there more. We're going to to the show in Branson. We're going to the show in Vegas. Then we have a show in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
We send somebody to Germany. And last year I went to Japan.
Yeah.
And so we try to get out there as much as we can. And they've talked about, you know, Holly and Jennifer have talked about doing more videos on Facebook and stuff.
Okay, time out. Hold on. When you've said Holly and Jennifer 2 or 3 times now, when you say Holly and Jennifer, what do you mean?
Yeah, so Holly is one of the main 4 people at Dent Craft, and she pretty much, you know, Sonia owns it, but Holly runs it. And Holly is the MVP, the secret sauce. And if you've met Holly, you fall in love with Holly within minutes. And you think, well, that's just a very nice person. And then you get to know Holly, and you fall in love forever. She's just a nice.
So she is the bread and butter, and then Jennifer is like her right hand woman.
That's right. Jennifer's her right hand woman, and lots of times I tell people, you got to keep Jennifer happy because Jennifer keeps Holly happy.
Yeah.
And if we can keep both of them happy,
yeah,
it could bring about world peace.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great thing when both those women are happy.
Well,
so
I do have to say, I always. Sorry, go ahead, Hudson.
No, I was saying Dent Craft is everywhere. They're at every show, pretty much. They're at Anson.
You guys make great for our industry for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see some. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be bringing about with Dent Gear, and I'm excited with this new type of handle you have coming on. That's not ratcheting, but it's indexing, whatever that means.
That's intriguing.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right.
And we have an international audience here. We have tons of people that listen in England and Australia and stuff like that. So they love hearing stories like this, and I love hearing it too. You know, and Dent Craft is an established business in our tool business in our industry that we all know and love, and it's great that you guys are coming out of your shell a little bit. It's always fun partying with you guys at all these events with the after parties.
Yeah, we know how to party.
You know how to party, so you just need to bring that party to the forefront and let everyone know that you guys are what we already know, which is you're all a bunch of great people, and we appreciate everything you do for our industry.
Well, I appreciate your show. I was telling Hudson whenever he told me that he was joining the podcast, I said, Hudson, that can't make any money. He goes, that's not the point. And I said, well, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing something like
what if we're losing money? Is that bad?
Well, that means even more to me. That means you care even more.
Okay. Well, we've been losing money for.
We're definitely doing it right then.
Yeah, right. We're doing it really good.
So you're telling me you care a lot.
2.5 years of being here every week, and we are not. We're losing money.
But we do have cardboard signs that say we work for tools.
Yes.
But Richard,
we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for
as we
having
wrap
me.
this up, Richard, thanks so much. I know that for you guys at Dent Craft, doing things like this it's not in your comfort zone, but you're trying to branch out. You're trying to do more of that, and I really, really appreciate that you guys are trying to do that, despite how uncomfortable it makes you.
Yeah.
So, but you guys make solid tools. You're solid people. There's no reason why you shouldn't bring yourself out to the forefront a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's get going. Let's get out of here.
Daniel, what do you got to say?
You guys.
Yeah, guys, level up your tools
And keep it stiff with some Dent Craft whale tails.